Hey guys, so this video is actually part two of the last Manic and Chill video. If you're coming from that one, continue on with this one for part two from the last video. They're just picking up right where they left off, talking about superflex startup strategies. It's an amazing conversation, the rest of this, but I just wanted to break up this whole entire episode because it was like an hour and 15 minutes long, create two shorter versions of it to help you guys out and not give you like an hour and 15-minute sit down of listening to Scott and Shane. Although I feel like most of you could probably do that. I just thought it might be easier and do it that way. So this is part two. Hope you guys enjoy it.
So here's the question for you. I'll just throw this out there. I haven't fully thought it through. But other people have brought it up, especially in the chill patron chat. This has been brought up. Well, okay, if you're in a startup, 12-team startup, and the first 11 picks are quarterbacks, we just talked through how it's going to feel really gross because at some point, whether that's round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, and by the time you get to round 5, round 6, round 7, round 8, it's like at that point, you almost have to take a shot on like 3 or 4 just bodies, and you just pray that they keep their jobs until we get to the season. It's not going to feel good building your team that way. But do you think that have we overcorrected to where now, like, are you interested in trying to build a team the opposite way just to see if it can work? Because the one negative is if 10 people build the team the same way, quarterback, you might have an advantage by building it the other way, right?
And that's the thing is you don't have to be that unique to be contrarian right now. And again, this is mock drafts. So, and I've already admitted my startup drafting has been nil this year. But it's really easy to go contrarian. It's just, all right, I'm just drafting running backs the first 3 rounds. Like, whatever. I'm going to have 3 top 15 running backs. Like, you're not going to beat me. I don't care what your quarterbacks do. I don't know if anyone actually, and based off the mock drafting, I don't think anyone actually has the heart to do that. It's kind of one of those, all right, everybody's going this way. And then you're betting on, well, the players I pick are going to be better than the players you pick. And I don't know that's a great strategy because we don't know at a pretty high rate who's going to be the good players from year to year. Who's going to be the better players, I should say. That's where you get a little sketchy. But again, it's easy to say in theory that, yeah, I'm just going to go against the grain because, yeah, I can build my running backs and my tight ends that way. And, yeah, I'll have Jameis Winston. Yeah, I'll have Andy Dalton. But, I know they'll start at least another year, right? But again, it's a lot easier to say that than do it. Because I know, in this draft at the 101, if I don't draft Patrick Mahomes and then I'm waiting, I'm going to be dying when those quarterbacks are going off the board and I can't get back up there to get at least one. It feels like that's how I'm going to play it, though, is I'm probably going to chicken out in any startups I do where I get one smash QB1 and then move on to another position. And then I'm just going to see what the board lets me do. And trading is going to be a big part of it. Rookie picks, I have no problem trading those immediately. So we'll see. I kind of have an idea of the first 2 picks. It's almost ingrained in my mind. It's going to be quarterback, running back for me. I hate being that guy too. Like I've never been that guy where I'm like, all right, well, you got to do this at the top of the draft because that feels like a redraft move. But you're almost compelled to go quarterback right now.
Well, and I think, one of the things that you're going to do is if you try to build contrarian to the rest of the room, you separate yourself from the pack, which is usually a good thing when you're talking about, we're not playing in a league with 1,000 people. But if you have a unique roster build, then you're not as reliant on just your players outperforming. That's kind of what Shane was alluding at. It's a very smart point that if I go into startup with 12 teams and I build my team with basically the same type of roster build, same type of roster construction as 7 other teams, I don't really have an advantage in terms of the way I built my team, the insulation with my team. I have basically now, I need my set of players to outperform yours, pretty much. Like, I don't have a lot of trade leverage over you unless there's obviously an injury or something that happens. But, you know, my strengths are going to be your strengths. My weaknesses are going to be your weaknesses. Now it's just a matter of whose players play better. And that's something that I'll be the first to admit, I'm not the best at predicting which players are going to do what. I'm going to try to already beat you by the way I set up my team. Then we'll worry about the players a little bit later. On the contrary, though, you know, if you punt quarterback, let's say you do a startup and you don't get one top 20 quarterback, not one. You are living in the Drew Lock, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Winston. Then you pick up, you know, maybe a Dalton, Fitzpatrick, Trubisky, Mariota. Like you're just hoping out of the 6 you come away with, you're going to patch together at least one starter every week, right? And you need all your skill players to thread that needle of health and hit their median or better outcomes for you to probably compete. The problem is when the clock turns midnight next year, after the 2021 season, we get to January, you know, it's Adam Schefter. Well, I expect, you know, 18 quarterbacks to turn around this year. You're looking at your roster going, ugh. I have maybe one guy that might even get a chance, you know, because you pick a Drew Lock or an Andy Dalton or Ryan Fitzpatrick, the odds are they probably, based on their history, don't play good enough to lock themselves even into the competition for a job next year. It's possible they just play so bad that they're cast off and they don't even get a shot. So you're now with a roster that has none. And, you know, if I look at your roster, Shane, and you have no quarterbacks, and I have 4, and my number 4 is Kirk Cousins, you know, I'm not coming for your 201, you know? Yep. I'm coming for your Cam Akers. Yep. And you're going, you know, I took Cam Akers 6 rounds higher than Kirk Cousins in that startup 2 years ago. So you're just kind of always putting yourself in a position where you're not going to have any leverage, which is one of the, and maybe you call that the easy way out, the safe way, but it sure feels good to have a Pat Mahomes. You feel like you can miss on a lot of other picks and not absolutely tank your team. And you give away what you have to do the next 3 years, right? Everyone knows your first round pick. You're going, man, I need a quarterback. Man, I need a quarterback. Who will trade me one? Anyway, just some thought. Well, we know the way the NFL is turning around these quarterbacks. It is going to be ugly probably every year where 8 to 12 jobs are getting turned over. If your quarterback room in your dynasty league is stuck in that, you know, bottom 30% of the league, it's going to be a lot of stress for you from January to March trying to figure out what the heck you're going to do.
And that's, I mean, it's weird. You might have to go the productive struggle route, which it doesn't even make sense where you're drafting. You don't want to draft running backs because, you know,
right. You wouldn't want to start with Matthew Taylor if you're going to punt quarterback. Right. And
so by the time, you know, you can actually get 2 quarterbacks that you hit on, because there's no guarantee that the guy you draft in the top 3 picks is going to hit. I mean, Daniel Jones, yes, he was falling to 201 in his rookie draft, but say he's the best of his class, the next class, 2022, right? That's next year. There's 2 quarterbacks I've heard them talk about right now. It's obviously not going to be as deep of a class as this one. I don't know. Like, you want to go contrarian because no one else is doing it. And that's, you know, you want to, it's risky, yes, but at least you'll either be really good or really bad usually. But the problem is going contrarian here is you might actually get destroyed and never recover from it. And end up chasing quarterbacks your entire life of this dynasty league, however long it lasts, because running backs, the lifetime is finite. So you draft 4 of the top 25 running backs. By the time your team's in a position to win because you have quarterbacks, they're going to be 26, 27. Not every one of them is going to, you know, break the age curve, and not all of them are going to be able to do that. So it feels like splitting the baby is the way I'm going to go, and I hate that. It feels like such a cop-out way to draft, going, all right, well, I'm kind of going to buy into the same theory as everyone else, but not fully.
Yep.
But I don't know that you can win right now without at least one of those top 8 quarterbacks. You can win without one of the top 8 running backs. You can win without one of the top 8 wide receivers. It's really helpful if you have one of the top 3 tight ends. Yeah, it's very heavy, top heavy right now. You just got to hope, like you said, and I really like the strategy now where I'm just going to trade up, and I don't have a second and third round pick, but that's okay because everyone else will be overdrafting quarterbacks at that spot, and I'll be set. And then hopefully that'll push running backs down, wide receivers. We talked about we can find guys in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, 8th round that can put up production. So I'm going to steal your idea, I think, and start sending out offers in my sleeper league. I'm going to start tonight because it's hard to trade in those leagues. So you got to start early.
Yeah, and I'd just recommend saying, okay, I know you're in a lot of leagues like me, so, look at your other one. What I would do is this. I would look at my teams that have Mahomes, and you already know you're going to get Mahomes, right? And just see, what quarterback do I want to pair with Mahomes, and just target, I'd probably shoot for the 104, 105, 106. And I'm totally comfortable giving up my 2nd and my 3rd and getting back, try for a 5th, try for a 6th, just kind of price point. But I'd be willing to accept all the way down to an 8th because, again, you're kind of just banking on that groundswell of quarterbacks. And if it happens, you're still, and I did a patron show on this the other day, you look at some of the running backs and how far they're falling down. I mean, whether you like them or not, you can still get, you're not going to get DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, right? Those are going to be off the board because you're giving up your 2nd and 3rd round pick. But, round 5, round 6, you may be able to still get an Aaron Jones or a Joe Mixon. And it's like, okay, maybe they're not as good as those other guys, but I think they have you'd probably agree that Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Ezekiel Elliott have a much easier path to get to a difference-making RB1 than, say, Kirk Cousins has to match Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And Cousins has been a top 15 quarterback, but there is a big gap from quarterback 12 to quarterback 3, and if you're down in the range where you're banking on, guys even lower than that, if you're down in the Baker Mayfield range, I did a Twitter thread a long time ago, probably about a month ago. Baker Mayfield is almost the epitome of, he's going to have a really hard time ever finishing in the quarterback 1 territory, top 12. He's the prototypical, like, hey, he'll give you quarterback 15 numbers. But the gap between Mayfield and Lamar Jackson versus Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb, I think I'd rather bank on the running back because there's so many more variables. And I'm taking a little bit of a shorter term loss. If Chubb or Mixon flames out, I expect them to be done within 2 or 3 years anyway. So I'm hitting the reset button faster. If I miss on that Kyler versus Mayfield play, that's a bigger loss, I think, over a long period of time. So just kind of transition the way you're thinking about it. You want to talk real quick, just some rookie superflex ADP? Because I do think there's one solution. There's that cutoff point where people stop taking rookie picks, right? In these drafts, it's like the 106, the 107. I actually think the best value you can potentially get is, instead of reaching on the Cousins or the Derek Carrs in round 3 or round 4, where it's going to feel a little gross, I actually think you're better off maybe every time you come back. Let's say you were picking at the turn, the 112 and the 201. Take a rookie pick. Take the 107 at the 4th round slot, whatever the next one up. Take a pick, right? The next turn, take the 111 or the 112. Because now I think you have a better shot. What if your rookie draft kind of goes AWOL?
Yeah.
And Trey Lance is sitting there at the 107. You now got the 107, which is a quarterback, in round, quote unquote, 6 of your startup. Yet if that was Trey Lance, the quarterback, he would have been going in round 3 or round 4. So I think the picks give you a little flexibility, and you never know. Maybe you can combine the 112 and the 107, move up and take one. So I think that gives you a little more flexibility. So if you're drafted before the draft, I think the picks can maybe bail you out if there's 1 or 2 mistakes in the rookie draft. But just some thoughts.
I like that. I can't say that better. So I'm not even going to add to it. You're a smart
All
man.
right. Let's just go through rookie ADP right now. I know we've kind of talked about the quarterback and how high they're going to move up. 12-team superflex. I mean, you really think in a superflex draft, the top 4 quarterbacks will go in the top 5 picks?
Yes.
Okay. So basically in line with how the startup's going with veterans, it's going to be chase the quarterbacks early and often. And, if you're sitting at the 106 where you thought 2 months ago you were going to get the 4th quarterback, you're probably panicking a little bit now.
Yeah. Those days where you could get Josh Allen at 201 and Daniel Jones at 203.
Yeah.
It's done. Like that unless, all these quarterbacks flame out and everyone gets burned on it, you're not going to be able to do that again for a little bit. Like what it might end up doing is you're drafting guys like Mond at 201, which great.
Don't do that.
Let someone do that. Let someone else do that. It's probably, I can see the same thing happen in the startups where we're pushing up non-elite guys and drafting them at elite spots. It's going to happen with the rookies as well, with the quarterbacks. You're going to tell yourself a story. Oh, well, Mond landed in Chicago. He's only got Dalton in front of him. He's probably going to end up being the starter. Doesn't mean he's going to be a good starter. I mean, it could mean he's going to be Christian Ponder.
Well, and the biggest winners of these rookie drafts are, and of course, if all the quarterbacks go in the top 4 picks, the biggest winners are probably the teams that were contenders last year or playoff teams that are now sitting at the 109. And it's like, oh, Travis Etienne, he's still sitting there at the 109. Like, okay, I'll take it. In a year ago, you'd have been going to, a top 50 pick running back would have the pedigree of Etienne, falls to the 109. Like, there's no way. But the other thing to look for is, if you have a team that has Drew Lock, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Tom Brady, and they're at the 108, they're tempted to go Mac Jones, aren't they?
If he's available, yeah.
But he's going to get pushed up,
and
we would agree he doesn't have the upside of Justin Fields or Trey Lance. But if you're sitting at the 109 and there's 2 quarterback needy teams and there's 4 off the board, 106 or 107, you're going to see some Mac Joneses going in the top 7 or 8, don't you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. And the way things are trending, I forget who's going to see Mac Jones's pro day. It's looking like he might go at 3. Shanahan's going to his pro day tomorrow. I mean, he goes 3. In a super flex, how do you let him fall past 106 if you need a quarterback?
Right.
I don't look. I like being brave, but I don't think I could be that brave. Right. Now, if my boy Kyle Pitts is available and Mac Jones, it's going to be hard to pass up Mac Jones if I really need a quarterback. He looked great at Alabama, right? No, he doesn't have Trevor Lawrence's upside. He definitely doesn't have, the type of skill set that Justin Fields or Trey Lance has. But maybe he could be a top 15 quarterback, right?
Yep. Well, I think he's exactly what we talked about. He's the Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield. Like, you just need him to lock the starting job for his rookie contract, and you probably get your value returned with that 106 or 107. It's not an exciting pick. It's not a pick we would have ever thought we'd be talking about a month ago even. But that's where we're at. And then you transition perfectly to Kyle Pitts. The same argument about chasing the positional advantage with Kelsey and Waller and Kittle. Well, Kyle Pitts is tight end 4. So I think people are going to make the same justification with Kyle Pitts. Hey, man, I got smashed last year because my tight end sucked and the team that had Kelsey pounded me. The team that had Waller pounded me. I can get one right here. So why would I take a receiver over a guy that can give me the positional advantage? And even in PPR leagues where there's no premium or 1.5 PPR, the positional advantage above replacement is going to be there if Pitts hits the value where he's currently at. But I know you're big on Pitts, like top 8 pick in every draft, right? No matter what the format?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So 5 quarterbacks plus Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're letting Travis Etienne or Jamar Chase, who a year ago people would have said are like the 101 and the 102, and you're letting the team with the 110 maybe get that player.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at.
Because someone's gonna obviously draft Jamar Chase over those guys, because they think he's that good. Someone's gonna draft Devontae Smith over those guys, because they think he's that good. And I can't argue against it. I wouldn't do it. Probably no. I would take Jamar Chase over both of them. Maybe not Etienne. I don't know. It's gonna be that range of the draft is gonna be so much fun. Like, you don't need a top 4 pick if you don't have quarterback issues. You're in a beautiful spot anywhere from 105 to 109. You can do whatever you want. Kyle Pitts obviously is a guy I've fallen in love with over the last month. And yeah, I think the positional advantage he's going to give you is just going to be absolutely ridiculous. So that's why I can justify taking him over Jamar Chase, who I think right off the bat will be a top 12 wide receiver, at least in value.
I think he's there. I think you already put Chase up against other guys that are just in the ADP. And I did a poll the other day, T Higgins versus Jamar Chase, and it was 80% Jamar Chase, landing spot independent. And I did another poll, if Jamar Chase lands with the Bengals, who do you prefer? And it was like 83-17 Jamar Chase. So that poll is basically saying Jamar Chase will just bully T Higgins right out of the top 20. I mean, just overnight. But actually right now, Jamar Chase or Chris Godwin?
And I'm already on the Jamar Chase bandwagon because it's not even close to me. Like I wouldn't even have to think about that. If I got that offer, smash.
It's because Chase, we've seen what happens with Jefferson and Metcalf and AJ Brown. I mean, I don't think Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, I don't know how much those guys have room to go up. Amari Cooper's not going up. DJ Moore, I think, has a little bit of a chance to go up, but still, you put Chase in the range with those guys, and it's like, as long as he's not a complete, as long as he's not a flame out complete bust, he's going to be more valuable than Calvin Ridley a year from now. That's just a fact. I mean, as long as if he puts up 900 to 1,000 yards as a rookie, which is kind of below the threshold that we've seen from these last 2 classes of elite receivers, he's going to be more valuable than 27-year-old Calvin Ridley. That's just a fact. So, so yeah, you're just feeding these teams from last year. This flip-flop of the way these drafts go from year to year, you are just feeding these playoff teams that are probably already sitting on, Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray, and they're going, yeah, I could use a running back. Oh, you're going to give me, early second round Javonte Williams at 111? Oh, okay, that's sure. That fills my needs. Mac Jones I would have taken, but he's not really going to help me. But now you're giving me a top 24 running back at 111? Okay, sure. You're giving me a first round receiver at the 201? Sure, take those other positions that I don't need. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, if I'm sitting at the 107 to 110, I'm like, sure, if you let Trey Lance or Mac Jones just fall to me and they're just sitting there, sure, I'll take Mac Jones as my QB5. But if the swell happens, sure, I'll take Javonte Williams or Travis Etienne. No problem. So I don't know. We've just kind of established some tiers, but that's how I see it. Do you see any other quirks that could come in play in the next month?
No. I mean, there's pro days, right? So there's no combine. It's not like, most of these pro days aren't getting the same. It's not building the same anticipation. We're not buying in like we do with the combine. Right.
Sure.
We're just not, because we know Mac Jones, not to pick on the guy or anything, but everyone saw when they were timing his score, just across the board on that tweet, there's just 400 old dudes and they're all clicking after each other. So I have no idea what time he ran. Whereas at least with the combine, it's, it's all like, all right, this is what it is. Whether the metrics are that important anyway is another discussion, but at least we could count on them. And we go, oh, he ran a 4.33. I love him. Like I watched Kyle Pitts run a 40 at his pro day. They told me it was a 4.6, I think. It looked like a 4.8 to me. I don't know what I'm looking at. I need the NFL to tell me this is what it is. So I don't see a lot moving. Like we'll probably have a real strong idea if Mac Jones is going to be the third pick overall, or is it going to be, we'll know what quarterbacks are going where at that point. We know Lawrence is one. We know Wilson's two. At that point, we'll probably know if it's Mac Jones. So, I mean, it's setting itself up for not a lot of changes between now and the draft, which is fine for me.
Yeah, it should be fun as we get a little bit closer to really nail down the landing spots and see if there's any movement with any other trades. I think there's still potential that the number 4 pick could be up for grabs. One of the interesting things is, by Atlanta now sitting at the number 4 pick, they've kind of boxed the Panthers in, who were the most aggressive team to go up and try to get a quarterback. They're now sitting there going, man, the top 3 have already moved or are staying put. They're probably all taking quarterbacks. We're not trading with a division rival, probably.
No, there's no way Atlanta makes that move.
So if Atlanta, now on the contrary, if Atlanta doesn't take a quarterback, the Bengals at 5 aren't taking one. Clearly, Miami has already moved around. They're not taking a quarterback at 6.
Right.
I think the Lions could, but I've heard some smart people talk about what the Lions should do from an analytical perspective. Their roster is such a mess right now. It doesn't really make sense to bring in the rookie quarterback who everyone's going to push to play, rookie year, and you put him on that team. They're actually better off. They'd be better off going, okay, there's one quarterback left, because Atlanta foolishly passed on that guy, right? And they picked, who knows? Let's say they take Kyle Pitts or whatever. And then the next 2 picks don't take a quarterback. The Lions are sitting there at 7 going, okay, Carolina, you were wanting to trade up all this time. Throw them an extra 2nd and a 3rd. The Lions literally get free picks. It's like the Trubisky pick with the Bears. They weren't even going to take a quarterback, and they ended up getting free picks out of it. So I think that's the one opportunity. So that Carolina-Atlanta situation, because if Atlanta passes and they're stuck with Matt Ryan for 2 years, and then Carolina gets Trey Lance, they could pound the Falcons for the next decade. And
I can't see Atlanta letting a quarterback fall past them. Obviously, I'm not a draft expert, not Mel Kiper. Just based off need and based off this class, it's just too perfect, right? The worst thing
they could do is keep the pick and not use that leverage, right, to trade back, but not take a quarterback. So it's like you're wasting the free money, but you're not taking the positional value. Do you have what's Matt Ryan's dead cap in 2022? Because I think that restructure, that's going to be tough for them to make a move with him.
Yeah, they did. I'll bring that up. They did restructure his contract. $46.5 million.
Yeah, this year's out. He's there this year. But next year, I thought they moved some money into next year. So he's going to be a little bit of a tough cut next year, too.
They did. Oh, there you go, Spotrack. Thank you. For a little slow this evening. Jesus. $40 million.
Right.
So
that restructure tells me, okay, so let me ask you this. Let's say they take a quarterback. Does that guy still go in the top 4 of rookie drafts?
He should. He won't.
Exactly. That's a great answer, because people are going to fade the fact that $40 million. I mean, that's Atlanta has boxed themselves in with that Matt Ryan contract.
So if they do cut him after June 1st, only $24 million is on the book for next year. And I forget what Wentz's dead cap hit is for the Eagles.
I think it was 33 or something like that. Yeah. Maybe.
We're in the era of where, all right, it's high. It's not the highest ever, though, at least, right? So if we want to move on, we can. I don't know that they would, because that also pushes some more dead money into 2023. But it's not impossible if they designate him as a June 1st trade or June 1st cut.
Now, the only problem with the difference, though, between Stafford, Wentz, Goff, and Matt Ryan is, what is the price to take on a Matt Ryan $40 million cap hit at age 37, especially if he doesn't have a good 2021? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like we're going to have to give up our top 5 pick next year just to get rid of the guy.
Look, you could ride the bench for $40 million, or you could cut him for 24. So you save 16 million, right? And that's how I'll be looking at it. I won't look like it as a death knell if, say, Trey Lance goes there. 1 year on the bench. That's all. I can imagine him easily taking over probably before the season ends next year, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, they'd give Ryan every shot because they don't want to just waste $25 million the next year by cutting him after June 1st. But that doesn't mean that they won't end up in a position where that's the best move. So I'd be fine still taking Lance at 104, assuming it's Lance that goes there or Fields or whoever.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of my thoughts just from reading between the lines from some Falcons beat writers is they really don't want to draft the quarterback, and their actions to date have kind of said they still think they can win with Matt Ryan. Whether we believe that or not, whatever, but their actions have said they still are not ready to just dump Matt Ryan and move on. And so I think that is a leverage point now for Denver at 9. I think they're basically looking at this going, man, we are in the prime spot. Carolina's not going to trade for that pick because Atlanta's going to charge them double to trade for that pick. So I think Denver is the one place now in a perfect spot to move up and get the quarterback. If it's Trey Lance, whatever. If it's Mac Jones, whatever. But I think they're the next team in line where you could see a deal. It's just going to depend on the price. But I think Atlanta should trade down because they need things that probably aren't worth taking at the 4th spot. Unfortunately,
Denver's organizational philosophy under Elway, and I know he's not the GM anymore day to day, but it seemed to be, we'll take whatever quarterback ends up here. Okay. I mean, Mac Jones at 9. Mac Jones doesn't make it there, so it doesn't matter. I don't know. I have a feeling they don't move, and then they just kind of get stuck and drafted another position.
Yeah.
But again, that's under Elway. He's not running the organization anymore. So maybe they get bold and they send an offer over to the Bengals, and the Bengals move back to 9.
Well, as a Bengals fan, I think that it could be pick of ineptitude after pick of ineptitude. The Falcons pass on a quarterback, but then they don't trade the pick and they just pick Penny Sewell at 4. Okay, solid pick. You can always use a tackle. Then you get to the Bengals at 5, and they're going, we're not going to trade. There's teams that want a quarterback. Carolina calling you up, hey, you want to trade back? Nah, we're good. We're just going to draft our guy. You know what I mean? Like 2 straight just terrible decisions to not trade back. I mean, because the Bengals could trade back from 5 to 8 and still get one of Chase, Pitts, or Rashawn Slater, which is probably going to be who they would take at 5 anyway. So we'll see. The smart organizations and the ones that, don't map out a draft board and they just hit draft because they need that dopamine high. So it feels like us in a dynasty league.
Yep.
All right. I've talked a lot, probably 90% of this episode. Any final points, Shane? Your time to shine, my friend.
I got nothing. Absolutely nothing. If you haven't subscribed to the DLF YouTubes, do that. If you haven't downloaded the guide, do that. If you're not a subscriber to DLF for some reason, go do that. And then make sure you're following Scott on I'm looking at your handle. Make sure you go follow Scott on the Twitters because Scott's always putting out great content on Twitter. No filler, just great football stuff.
Well, appreciate that, my friend. You're one of my biggest fans. I wouldn't know what I would do with you without you in my fan club, Shane. No, I'm just kidding. I'm one of your biggest fans. Shane goes out of his way to prop other people up. So definitely one of the pillars of this community. I mean that. I'm not just saying that because we're on the episode. I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. So thank you, Shane, for all you do. All right, Shane is the worst at Charles Chill FFB, Dynasty Trades HQ, Dynasty and Chill. Join either one of our Patreons if you want. I really don't care. If you want to give Shane the money and not me, I could care less. Vice versa. It's a lot of the same chat, a lot of the same characters in both. So, maybe next Manic and Chill, we will have an update on Shane's startup draft where he somehow turns Patrick Mahomes into, maybe an absolutely dominant squad. Or he, real quick, if you could pick any of the other quarterbacks to pair with Mahomes, who do you want? You want a Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence combo?
Yeah, there's no way Lawrence is less than the 12 in this league. I can't imagine that happens. I have no idea who's going to last to me. Once I start that quarterback run, I got a feeling that my second quarterback, I'm going to be looking at Matt Stafford, and I'll go, you know what? I'm good.
That's why you got to try to trade up and get like that 107, 108, and maybe it'll be, I think with Watson out, you can see Lawrence at the 106, 105. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. So
not at all. So
let's see how you do. I want updates next time. Maybe we'll do a Shane-centric startup episode next time we do a live show. Cool. We'll sign off 1 minute or 1 hour, 10 seconds or what am I talking about? 1 hour, 10 minutes record for Manic and Chill. And we're done. Later, DLF.
Later.